I'm going to put it up on my phone. It says we are officially live. How are you doing today, man?
Doing well, man. Really well. It's been a
I'm
crazy
looking
week.
this up. I like to see because I can see comments and stuff. Oh, there we go. We are officially
Yeah.
live. Rock and roll. All right. So before I introduce you, I wanted to play something really cool that you did about a week ago. It was actually a week ago this Friday.
It was.
And let's do this. So I'm going to pull it up because this blew my mind, and this really sets up a lot about what we're going to talk about. Something you shared on LinkedIn. So I'm going to go into it. When I first came on LinkedIn, I didn't even have a voice. I was like, oh man, I don't have a brand or plan. But I definitely had a choice, so I started posting. I remember the first post I posted, it got like 2 likes, then goes dead. I was like, okay, it's a long game. Yep, notice. Shout out to people that really knew from the beginning. Way before ABS was winning, I was only being me. I just keep giving us a key to LinkedIn. I'm still living, trying to get this business off the ground. How to the haters, I see you now. Try to put me down, but I kept smiling. Time to release the creative now. Yeah, I was on the green screen before the green screen became mainstream. I was aiming to be entertaining at the same time educating and motivating. It was complaining. Oh my god, that boy is so damn crazy. A couple of months have passed. It was like, oh my god, he's so amazing. But I ain't just on here to stack some leads. I'm gonna make a difference in that you see. Got Brian, Noah, and Daryl on the track with the creative king. Oh, that was so good, dude. I love it. So is that Monster in the background? Is that the jam that it's going to?
Oh yeah. No, it's not Monster. It's Godzilla.
Godzilla, yeah. I think they say monster in the song, right? Like
Yeah.
So yeah. Dude, that was so good. So I'm here with Alex B. Sheridan, and I wanted to give you a little bit of introduction and tell the audience, give some background on who you are. So I'm going to start with, you are an entrepreneur. You're the founder of Impacts, which is a marketing and branding company.
Yep.
You're a father of 2. Right?
Yes, sir.
I got that
Yes,
right.
Sir.
And you're obviously an amazing rapper, and you could drop some lines on that. That was amazing. You're a LinkedIn celebrity, and I will give you that. You're probably a little more humble to admit that, but people know who you are, and you're a branding expert, and you've really just changed a lot of people's lives by helping them, as you would put it, unleash their creative. And so I'm super happy to have you, Alex. How are you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I am so stoked. So, you did something pretty amazing in 2020. And like a lot of people, we had to reinvent ourselves. We had to figure out, how are we going to go after a digital market, and how are we going to shift what we were doing, which used to be a belly to belly handshake, happy hour, networking type of business, and turn that into a fully digital community, and really lean into, how do we take what we do and build our digital brands. And you leaned into it and quit your job and started your own company. So let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me about that journey, man, and how that all came to fruition in 2020.
It's been a wild one, man. It's been a wild one, but it's been a fun one. 2020, I really started this company in 2019, and it was going to be more of a sales consulting company, helping people drive revenue, that kind of stuff. Because I had come from a good background, and I started putting content on LinkedIn late 2019, and quickly realized that, hey, wait a second, there's something to this whole content marketing thing. I was just trying to get awareness so people knew who the hell I was, right? I was like, maybe if I can post some content and share some value and some tips, people might start reaching out to me. And sure enough, they did. And I started sort of unleashing my creative little by little. I'm like, I'm going to show some of my humor. I'm going to show some of my storytelling ability. I'm going to bring some of these concepts to life and act them out and do, rap battles and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, for me, that's just who I was. That's just who I am. I wanted to unleash that and actually be myself on here. And then I quickly realized through that whole process, I was like, man, there's an relatively untapped market of people that need help creating really good content that generates business and builds their brand. Whether they work for a company or whether they have their own company, it doesn't really matter. Getting out here and putting out content and engaging and building a community virtually, socially, and then taking that offline, I knew that was going to be the number one skill to have moving forward. And then so I made that pivot around January 2020, went all in. This is my business. This is what I'm doing. I'm gonna study, learn every single day, make mistakes, fail, learn, and keep going forward. And then COVID hit a month and a half later, and it just expedited everyone getting virtual and
Yeah.
digital anyways. And so the business just took off, man.
So this is an interesting thought because I didn't realize this, but you really leaned into this in 2019, where you started saying there's something here, and then fast forward a year, less than a year later, you literally put in your notice. You're like, I'm out. So
Yeah.
so how? Well, before we go to that, I'm curious to know, because a lot of us have that. We have the type of job where we're in the business of networking and meeting people and looking for clients and looking for people that we want to work with. And you figured out it would be a lot easier if I just got people to know me before I called them. It was that the thought process?
It was a thought process. Yeah. Cause I mean, I had done a ton of cold calling in my career.
Yes.
And so I knew how to do it, but it's, you know, it can be exhausting. And at some point it's like, you're tired of having to chase down people, you know, and you're not really building a brand by cold calling
Yes.
or emailing. No one's really understanding who you are and the value you bring to the table. So that was one part from a business standpoint. But
Yes.
to be honest, Chris, I also was like, I know I'm here on planet Earth to do more than just be a salesperson, than just be a leader of a team. There was something, I had a calling inside that I felt like I wanted to make an impact in a bigger way. I wanted to impact the world. That's why my company is called Impacts, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And you don't have to have a certain job title or own a certain company to do it, but creating content allows you to have the voice to speak out about things that matter to you and make a difference in people's lives and inspire people. And so that was a big part of the driving factors for sure.
Well, so that's, I mean, that's such an interesting thought process, because the hack, if you will, is trying to figure out how to get somebody to know you before you actually pick up the phone. And you know, because you're not giving anybody anything by cold calling them. In fact, it's a little intrusive sometimes, but it's to be quite honest, for guys like me and you, it's the only way we get somebody's attention some days is by picking up the phone and finally calling them. And so when I went down this journey, my whole thought was, if I can just, when I finally muster up the courage, because it's a lot to get me to start making dialing for dollars. When I finally do it, I want them to at least say something like, "Hey man, I saw your stuff. I know who you are," you know?
Yeah.
And they know a little bit about me and who I am as a leader, who I am in the marketplace. And what you're doing is you figured out a way, and then you just took it to the next level by saying, now I want to help people do what I'm doing.
Yep.
And so you went out there and you created this business, and you're less than a year. How many months are you into this business?
So I you know, first customer for this business was February 2020. 6 months later, July, I put in my notice because I replaced my 6-figure income. I was making more in my side hustle than I was in my full-time job, which I thought was just, for the timing aspect, it blew my mind, man. Yeah. I still have to pinch myself. It just doesn't even seem real. And then literally, so I've been full-time in this business since July. So it's only been, 7 months. It's
wow.
Been,
who is your first customer? Are they in the group still?
No, they're not. No, this was before the boot camp. It was Robert. Yeah, okay. Robert. I still remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I remember exactly where I was when I first won my first customer for the business. It was like $299 or something. Nothing super crazy. It seems so, It seems small today, but for me then it was a big deal. And I remember I was working my full-time job. I was in the city of Chicago, downtown, and off the Mag Mile at Northwestern Hospital, where I was doing some business. And I remember I was on the phone call, kind of closing the deal, I was excited. It was just an hourly consulting kind of thing, helping with LinkedIn profiles, content, that kind of stuff. And I remember getting the call, and he said, "Hey, let's move forward. I want to work with you." And I got off the phone, and I just remember like it was yesterday, man. I got off the phone. I freaking was so excited. I was like walking through the halls of like Northwestern Hospital lobby, and I was like, yeah! And people are like, "What the hell is this guy doing?"
Yes.
I called my mom right away. There's a couple like people close to me that I called right away, and I'm like, "I just won my first customer. You're never gonna believe it." And I was so pumped, and I'll never forget that moment, man.
What a great feeling, man, to finally get to that point where you get the first client, and then you fast forward and you have an army of people that are building content. I mean, I've watched it. I've watched how we have seen people in this group that have gone from not posting anything to you see the first video, and then you see the evolution of where it becomes, it's like, oh my gosh, that's such a great video. And, I think the other day it was like 6 people had posted, and there was like one after the other that were like, oh my gosh, this is really good stuff. What kind of milestones have you seen? Have you had any interesting milestones within the group where you've seen it really change people's lives with their business?
Yes. I mean, multiple people, they literally went from, I don't know how to generate leads. I mean,
Yeah.
because what happened especially when COVID hit, I mean, a lot of people, if you were speaking in front of on stages, or if you were meeting at companies and you're doing all handshake meetings, that kind of stuff. I had a lot of clients, especially after COVID hit, that quite honestly didn't know how to generate business anymore. I mean, they were really kind of scrambling, and they didn't have a presence on LinkedIn. They weren't even posting hardly any content, or maybe a little bit, but some not at all. And then so to see them go from basically ground zero, no brand, no presence, no content, to like sort of mini blowing up in their own space.
Yes.
And generating leads on a consistent basis every single week. Like, that stuff's crazy. I mean, I would love to be able to total it up, but I'm sure it's got to be close to, I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not close to $1 million between everyone that I've helped.
Oh, without a doubt. Without
you know
a doubt.
what I mean? So
yes,
it's really that part is really cool for me to see, but also the opportunity that I have to help people, help them find their voice. And
that's really it. I mean, and not to interrupt you, but that's really what it amounts to, because what you're doing, and we'll take it back a little bit, because I feel like I'm trying to put myself in the audience perspective of what are we talking about? We're talking about LinkedIn. We're talking about building our brand and using LinkedIn as a platform to do that. But it doesn't limit you to LinkedIn. There's many platforms. There's Facebook, there's Instagram. There's now Clubhouse that there is. And so, what we have found, and what I have found specifically, is that growing up in a corporate environment, we normally have kind of worn our brands to be the company that we worked for. And that's what the company wanted you to do. They wanted an army of people that were preaching what the company's all about. And for a lot of companies, they don't like you on social media. They would prefer that you're not out there talking about on social media, out of fear that you may, impact their brand in a negative light. And so this idea that kind of took off on, I think specifically on LinkedIn, was that the individual that works for a company has a story, and the individual has an audience. And so if you're in any sort of business that requires any sort of sales, any sort of marketing, you now have the ability to tell your story to get people engaged with you, so that the end user decides, do I want to use this person? Do what they're saying, does it resonate with me? And for me, I recruit a lot of loan officers that are happy at another company, and it's my job to figure out a way to, what's the word I'm looking for? Break through the white noise of all the other recruiters that are calling them, and do something different that no one else has done, so that like I said earlier, when I finally call them, they now feel like they know me. And that's what you're teaching, right? That's kind of where you're teaching. And then you take that a step further, and you're teaching them how to do it by building content and engaging within the content. And so, we bring it back a little bit for somebody who comes to you, who's like, I'm in sales and I'm a cold caller, and I got to go out and meet people, and I can't do it anymore because of COVID. What options do I have, and how do I lean into this? What advice do you give that person?
You have to start by building a personal brand. And there's a lot of things that go into that, but a lot of people say personal brand and reputation are the same thing. I don't agree. I don't think so, because you could have a reputation, like, this is how I see it. I go a little bit deeper with it. You could have a reputation as being a jerk in the office. Like, even in our offices internally, everyone has a reputation, right? Some people are like, oh, he's the funny girl, funny guy, or whatever it is. Oh, this person's kind of like the hard nose, like doesn't really, this person's the grinder, this person's the slacker. Everyone kind of has that. No matter what part of team you're on or whatever, there's always reputations that you kind of develop and people develop. But a brand is different. A personal brand is you bringing your story to fruition, and really explaining why it is what you do, the purpose behind it. It's your competitive advantage. And part of that is probably the company that you come from. It ties into how you guys do business and how you serve your clients. Part of it is how you take care of your clients. So like you were talking about, where you want to, you want to be different. You want to differentiate yourself from all the other people that are trying to track down loan officers. And you do that by putting out valuable content. You do that by the way, what you deliver to them, how you communicate to them, how you guide, lead them, that kind of stuff. That's number two. And number three, you have to be able to connect your message, your story, what you offer to the audience. So the content, when you're the content creator, you have to be able to connect your content to the community. And so I think that's a thing that a lot of people blow over this whole, they just surpass this whole, or not surpass, but they kind of just push off this personal branding thing and associate it with this is your reputation. And I think it's not untrue, because when you think of something, you think of that person. Just like when you hear a tagline, a certain tagline, it makes you think of a certain company or a certain person. It's tied in with your reputation, but it's not your reputation. It's not your personal brand. Isn't just your reputation.
Well, I agree with that, and I actually I'm thinking back because, and this is a really good segue, because I think that a lot of people don't realize that. I'll give you a really good example, and this is the best way that I could explain it. I see a lot of loan officers, because that's the business I'm in. So I'm looking. I'm the first thing is I get a name, I see data, I see this is an individual that's in my market that is doing really well. The first thing I do is I go to their social media, to get an idea of who they are. And we're in interesting times, and sometimes I'll find somebody that's just very political or very polarizing on a message that's just nothing to do with their business. And I'm like, that's weird. I don't understand if they could spend all this time and effort. That's a lot, because social media could be hard. And there's mechanics that go into it. How do you post? How do you pick a picture? And there's all this thought process to go into into a message that has nothing to do with your business. But that to me becomes like what their brand is in a weird way, because I don't know anything about how they're helping customers, but I do know how they feel about what's going on in the world. It's neither here nor there. It's just there's an effort that goes into that, and I'm questioning where would you rather put your effort? And so when I think about is brand reputation, the way that I've said it in the past is your brand isn't a logo. I see a lot of people that go and spend a lot of money on a logo, and they think that becomes their brand. They pick the colors, they pick this very cool name, and then like, boom.
I've got a brand. I got a website. I got a logo and a website. I got a brand.
Exactly. But the brand, as you're saying, is really what your personal story is. And there's things that play into that. That's your reputation. That's what people think about when they see you. It's all these things, but it's how are you leaning into giving people an opportunity to get to know you so that you can build your brand. And it's what people will say about you when you're not around. And I think that's completely, spot on. And you're teaching people how to do this. And so, Alex, the question I have, if you're for someone who is looking to build their brand, what is the first step in that? I mean, I want to go digital. Is the first step that I got to do some internal soul searching to figure out what that brand is?
Yeah. I mean, some people
talk about that.
Some people have argued with me that they think it should start with your target audience. And I think very quickly you do have to think about your target audience, right? Because a lot of it is serving them. But I think it's a misstep if you don't look internal first. I think with pretty much everything in life, you need to self-reflect, look in the mirror, whether it's, hey, I want to get into a relationship. I want to work on myself. I want a new job. I want to take this opportunity. I want to change something. I want to build my brand. Okay, well, let's take a look inside first and figure out, why do you want to do it? What's the purpose behind it? What's the story? What did you go through to get to this place? What can you share about your story that's unique about you and that would provide value to other people? And I think you got to think about what brand do you want to build that's based off that, like, how do you want to represent yourself, and what do you want people to think about you when they come across you in the feed? There's certain things that you like. For me, I'm like innovation, creativity, and kindness and care. And you know what I mean? Like, to me, those things are really, really important, and it reflects and it goes into the type of content that I create, because I'm constantly thinking about the brand. So I think, yes, you got to start there, but then it quickly pivots to the target audience, right? Who are you going to serve now? And what do they care about? And what are they challenged with? What pain points are they struggling with? And how can you provide value while providing it through this filter of your brand and your story and the purpose and who you are? So filter it through that, so it comes out the other side as unique compared to everyone else, and it's different, and it's you. It's true to who you are, but it's still bringing an enormous amount of value to your audience and your community.
So this is tough, but have you ever had a client where like, dude, you just suck at this?
100%. Yeah.
It's got to be hard.
It's actually really tough. Yeah, it's really tough for me because I want it for them so bad.
Yes.
And some people, it's like anything, man, like basketball, writing, whatever it is. Some people have the talent. There's always a talent kind of scale, right? And then there's an effort scale. And so it's like, if you got this, you're here on talent, but then you're here on effort, you really can do some amazing things, right? You don't have to be the most talented. But if you're here on talent and then you're kind of here on effort, it's really, it's tough, man. So, I mean, I think, again, you got to think when you're first reflecting, think about your strengths. So what's going to be best for you? Even like if you're choosing different social media sites or how you post, written, picture, video, I would encourage everyone to do some video, because you got to build your brand and you got to show your face. You got to get in front of people. But maybe you're good at audio or text or picture, and maybe something like a Clubhouse could be fantastic for you, or a podcast could be great for you.
Yes.
Maybe you're fantastic on video, and so this stuff really works really well. Maybe you're a great writer, and so you can write a lot of text posts and mix in one video per week. So I do think you got to think about your strengths, because if you're going against the grain and trying to do something that you're horrible at or just not naturally good at, it's a longer road, right?
Yes. Yes. Well, I'll mention a couple things. So I think, the biggest thing to take from what you just said is that, number one, the platforms work. So you have to find what you're really good at. And I'm playing around with different ideas, like building slides, now seems to be a really big thing that I really am leaning into. The way that I promote the podcast, I think that everyone sees like these dual side by sides. It's become a thing now. And then the other day you posted one where you had them in bubbles. And I was like, oh, I like the way you did that video. And it's all, you just start shifting the way that people think to the way they consume content. And that's the creative piece. But one of the things, and I'll never forget this, there's a guy way ahead of his time, but anytime he was a recruiter. So he was my competition within my market. Yeah. And anytime any one of my LOs posted anything, this guy had the best comment game. He wouldn't post anything, but his comments were, I couldn't compete with his comments.
Yeah.
They were so heartfelt. They were so good. And I was so mad. Like, I was just like, I can't compete with this guy. He's there before I am.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but that guy had something, because he knew he wasn't a good content provider.
Yep.
But he was willing to go the extra effort with the comment game. And you and I both know, anytime somebody leaves a comment, you kind of you register, you remember like exactly what they said, who it was. And for you, it's probably a little bit different because you get a lot more comments than I do, but there's a mental note that you make and you remember that. And so when you see that person's, content, then you know to engage with them. It's like you're reciprocating.
Yeah.
If you will, the kindness that they provided you, you're going to give it back. But through that, you now have a relationship.
Yes.
And it makes it so much easier for me to reach out to that person in a DM and say, hey, I like your content. I like what you're doing. We should meet at some point. And that's a whole different, easier game. And so there's all these little ways, but I think what you're saying is you got to figure out what is going to be what are you really good at? And then how do you just lean in? And so my thought is, and we were talking about this the other day, but if you're not going to be the content, like you're just not going to be pushing out content every day, then engage and get to know the people that you want. You said a stat. Tell me about the environment in LinkedIn, like how many users versus actually how many people actually post.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. There's something around 760 million plus users on the platform, and about 1% post weekly. So the ratio to attention that you have, meaning you've got all these eyeballs and these people that are on LinkedIn, they're consuming content, they're going through the feed.
Yes.
And you've got this very small percentage of people that are actually creating content. And I know sometimes it feels like, it doesn't seem that way, Alex. I see a lot of people on my feed because you're seeing the people that are creating content, right? You don't get to see the people that don't create content. But when you get, 10, 20,000 views or 5,000 views or whatever it is on a post, that shows you when only, 100 or a couple hundred engaged on it, there's a ton of lurkers and they're watching.
Yes.
And sometimes your business comes from those lurkers. Well, they'll reach out and they'll say, hey, I've seen your content a couple times now. I'm interested in what you do. Can we set up a time to talk? And so a lot of your inbound leads come that way. But yeah, there's an incredible amount of opportunity. I mean, just to give a couple of examples, I was in a Clubhouse the other day, which is, by the way, is you want to grab attention in one platform and move it to another, move it to another, move it to another. So I'm in Clubhouses now, and they're LinkedIn Clubhouses. We're talking about branding, and people know who I am. I show up and they're like, oh my God, and it's kind of cool. But I'm like, because you build your brand in one place, you got to start transferring it to the other place now. I got to get known on Clubhouse now. But the room I was in, somebody was talking about, hey, I'm 30 days into LinkedIn. And he's like, I've only been posting content for 30 days. I just did a text post yesterday and it got 9,000 views. And I'm like, 30 days in, man, he's posted hardly any content and he's got 9,000 views.
9 free eyeballs for nothing.
Free eyeballs, no advertisement. I mean, you'd have to pay money to get that kind of eyeballs and that kind of attention from Facebook or Instagram or anywhere else. So and then you got somebody like, there's a couple folks in our group who have posted videos, first couple videos out of the gates, and it's like 50 to 100 reactions and a couple thousand views. And it's like, man, it just brought me back to like the organic reach is still here on LinkedIn. And I think this year, a lot of people are going to get on and take advantage of it. It's not going to be here forever, but I think we've still got it. We've got quite the runway still.
Well, it's fun. I mean, not only is LinkedIn still a very much an untapped market, it's like what Instagram was before there was ads on Instagram, right? It's what Facebook was before it turned into an ad machine.
Yeah.
And it's still there and it's lasting, right? And so, but not only that, like what I've noticed is there's a lot of cool people that are on there that are making it so entertaining to check out and learn from what they're doing. And then, so you bring up a really good point to now there's Clubhouse. So here's the clip, right? And I'm setting this up because we're going to take this and it's going to be the clip that we're going to post, but tell us about Clubhouse. Why should we be on Clubhouse right now?
Well, there's a few reasons, but I'll tell you the first and foremost, the reason that I think people are flocking to it, because it is a hot social media platform right now. I mean, this app is freaking exploding, man. I mean, it just took the world by storm, it feels like, Yes. And I think there's a little bit of the element of like, you need an invite, only iPhone users can get it.
I feel so cool. I feel like
they kind of made it
like
you almost want it more because everyone can't have it, and I know they're still early on, so they literally probably can't afford to have everyone come on at one time. It'd probably crash their system, But I like the platform for two reasons, and I'll go into a little bit of the strategy I think behind it. The number one reason I love it is the ease of use. I mean, you can pull this app up, you click the button, you're in the app, and you just see chats, and you jump in one of these clubhouses. And if it's a smaller one, you can raise your hand or they can select you, and boom, you're speaking in the matter of a few seconds. And so the ease of use or you can jump in and be a fly on the wall and listen and contribute later. But the ease of use for that app is out of this world. I've never seen a social media platform where it's that easy to use day one. Normally you've got to understand the nuances, the community, all this different stuff. And there's still stuff to figure out, but it's very less complicated. It's very simple. The second reason I think people are flocking to it, and the reason I think it's so cool, is the human connection that you get on Clubhouse is not like any other human connections you can get from any other app. So for example, we're doing a LinkedIn Live right now. We've got people commenting. I would love to be able to talk to these people, right?
Yes.
They can ask a question and they can do it in the comments and stuff, but it's a completely different experience. Like they put the word social in social media with Clubhouse. I mean, you're communicating with people. You're having conversations with people. It's live. It feels real. Like it feels cool. So I think for those two reasons, the app is going to continue to grow. And I would suspect that LinkedIn and Facebook and all these other apps and these platforms, they would think about not coming up with the same exact thing, but how do we bring that human element even more so to life? And the conversion is this, Chris. It's like people are like, how do you start converting on Clubhouse? And there's already Clubhouse experts, of course, right? But
it's without a doubt,
yeah, for sure. But it's really as simple as this. So you get into a room and you hop on the panel and you're getting into a room where it's like something that talking about your expertise. So for me, let's say it's branding, marketing, LinkedIn, whatever it is, content creation. I start talking about some things. And what happens is there's 20, 30, 40, 50 people listening. I jump on the panel, start bringing value. I'm not talking about myself and my products. I start talking about, hey, this is what you probably want to do if you're looking to build your brand. This is what you need to think about when you first started posting content. This is what works on LinkedIn. This is what doesn't work, And then pretty soon people are like, follow. Yeah. Who's this guy? Who's this guy? And then, somebody else is on the panel. I'm like, yeah, you got to check out Alex's content. He makes some of the coolest videos on LinkedIn. And then what does everyone do? They pull up your LinkedIn profile right when they're still listening to you in Clubhouse. Look, I literally had a message the other day where the guy was like, I'm literally listening to you right now on Clubhouse as I write this. Like,
You know how
nice
many
stuff.
messages I've sent? I've sent
Dude,
so many messages
yeah.
that
It's
I'm
so,
the sender of that. Yeah, without a doubt.
and then what happens, man, is you get someone that's interested and you say, hey, Randy, thanks so much for the message, man. Really appreciate it. Glad to be connected with you on Club or on LinkedIn too. Appreciate you joining the chat and asking that question on Clubhouse. Hey, there's a few different things that I didn't even go into, man. I would love to share those type of things with you if you want to hop on a chat. And then you've got a conversation. Online. Right.
It's amazing. No, I mean, I think the cross utilization is huge. I wish that there was a LinkedIn option, and I'm sure that's going to come eventually. But
Yeah.
what's weird is it's such a LinkedIn heavy type of platform, all voice, no tracking mechanism, no DM, no
And
ability.
you know why?
What's that? Do I know why?
Yeah, I think because do you have any idea why?
I have some suspicions, but
Yeah.
do you know why?
I think it's this because I think LinkedIn tends to be obviously it's more business, more deep thought, like people here. It's not like Instagram where you go to Instagram and no offense, but like a really good looking guy or girl could post a picture like their shirt all like a bikini, whatever it is, and it could get like 500-600 likes or whatever. It's just like it's a different, not to say there's not insightful stuff on Instagram and stuff, but it's a different audience. It's a different style of content where LinkedIn, it's like, we really are a different community here. Like you really got to post some thoughtful things, or if you're going to be creative, there's still got to be a good message behind it. Right. Yeah. So we're a little bit more strict on who we kind of like give some love to, right? We want it to be a community of professionals. We're still humans and we like to have fun, but we're still, it's business, right? We're at a network, really fun networking event. And so I think Clubhouse, I've seen personally a lot of people that are all over Instagram, especially more of these surface level style posters where it's just like picture them on the beat and that kind of stuff. They hate Clubhouse because they're like, how do I fit in here?
How do I fit in?
I don't have the knowledge. I'm just an influencer.
I have to
I just was going to post a product and hold it up and hope, and you can't do that shit on Clubhouse, man. You have to bring value. You have to have insights. It's about what you say, not about what you look like. And I think that's
why I love it. The hardest thing for me to do some days is like take from here to type it out. And you have a hack because you use the voice messaging a lot. I just, for some reason, I haven't adapted to that. But one of the things that I didn't know any of this. I'm sold. I don't know who the LinkedIn user is, but I love that. I love that they said that because
you get it. I mean, get on it because it's, when you have a platform that's rising like this fast, you're an early adopter. The opportunity for growth is crazy good.
Huge. And so you have this ability to just hop in and speak and listen, and none of it's recorded. There's no DMing. There's nothing there's no feed. It's all live interaction. You're walking through a hallway of different types of content that you could jump into, different types of conversations, and you just hop in and learn. One of the coolest things for me is just listening to investors on there and listening to what they're doing and what they recommend and hearing what's going on. Like I learned so much about Bitcoin and what's going on in the markets, like just based on listening to people and then being able to interact with them, which has been amazing. A couple of things that I will share with anybody who's listening to this live, and this will probably change over the next few weeks. But if you're interested in getting into Clubhouse, my advice is if you have an iPhone, it only works on iPhone, download the app in your app store. Most likely somebody who that's already in there will let you in. And if not, then over a couple of weeks, somebody will eventually give you an invite. But I downloaded it and then somebody let me in like that. And I think for you, probably the same thing happened. And then as you're in there and how you participate and how many rooms you moderate, then they start to feed you invites that you can actually invite some of your pals to come into as well. And that to me is really cool because one of the coolest things about Clubhouse is whoever let you in, you're forever tied to that person. Like it's on your feed. Like
get rid of that, but I like that. That's why I'm like strategic with who I let in. I'm like, I'm gonna let in some bosses, so they're just like,
that's it.
Because you know what I've done many times, and you probably have too. When you've seen someone that you recognize, and you see their profile, and then you look to see who invited them, and then you're like, who is this person that invited this person into Clubhouse? Yeah,
it is cool. It is cool. I do love it. But one of the things so the cross utilization is big. I think that's going to be the biggest, takeaway from Clubhouse is being able to connect with new people, getting to know new people, and really figuring out how to leverage that voice that we haven't been able to use. Everything's been text and picture and video, and now it's like live voice, thinking on your feet, who's spitting game. And I think that's going to be a big deal. So, all right, let's shift gears out of Clubhouse, but we've done the commercial. So I think in those of you who are interested in Clubhouse, I highly recommend it. But now I wanted to talk to you a little bit about one of the things I love talking to entrepreneurs about, Alex, is we all go through this mindset problem of letting our mind tell us what we can't do sometimes.
Yeah.
And you have a really good, you've always been very ambitious. You have a good energy about you, but I would imagine that you sometimes go through this as well, where you don't want to do a video today, but you got to get some content out there. How do you overcome that? What are some of your hacks on just like getting over that mental block of getting out there and leaning into social media?
Yeah, man, it's there's so much to that, but I mean, all the time, I mean, there's things that I don't want to do that I have to do to, advance myself or the business or the people or the customers that I serve. And so I think it's like that's kind of like the motivational or the motivation versus discipline argument, where it's like, I don't even know if it's an argument, but it's just two completely different things, where it's like, if you're waiting for you to feel good about it or feel right, some people are like, it's not the right time, or I think I'm just worried about this or that, or I don't know. And it's like, if you're waiting for the stars to align for you to accomplish your goals or your dreams or get on social media, it ain't ever going to happen. You're going to be 95 and wishing you would have took action and you didn't. Yeah. So I think it comes down to discipline. It comes down to what do you want to accomplish? And if creating a personal brand or putting out content on LinkedIn or hopping on Clubhouse is part of that, and which if you're trying to grow a personal brand, it is part of that. I can tell you that right now for sure. Then you have to figure out what does that look like, and you don't need to start from here. Like I think that's what the problem is. Sometimes people compare themselves, and I did it early on when I was coming up in business. I'm like, oh my God, this person has all these programs and this and that and all this following. They've been around so long, and it's like, hold on, take a step back. You're here, brother. You're here, and you want to get to here and here, wherever. But you don't go from here to here in 1 second or overnight. Just think about getting to that next ledge, the next step, right? The next best thing, as they say in Frozen 2. I think that's the next right thing or something like that. But that's what it's about. So it's like, if you're not posting anything and you don't have a brand at all, and you're not showing up on LinkedIn or Clubhouse or any of these apps or any of these social media platforms, then step one is just show up. Just start engaging with people. Start one piece of content next week. Commit to it. Not when you feel good, not if it sounds right, not if I forget what I have to say. Just I'm going to post, and that's the end of the story, and there's no option. So it's kind of like you got to tell your mind that you control your mind. We forget that sometimes, but like even in the morning when you're first waking up, and it's like, oh, I don't want to get up. I'm cozy in my bed. You have to make that mental switch to say, hey, I'm in control here. I run this thing. I'm in control of this body, this temple here, not you, you little lazy ass body. Like, no, you need to get your ass up because we got some shit to accomplish today, right? So I think, people, you have to talk to yourself and literally be like, I'm doing this, and you're not going to stop me. The fear of failure, the fear of imposter syndrome, any of that stuff, I'm just going to push through. Because what I noticed very early on in my entrepreneurship or my entrepreneurial journey was that the people that made it weren't always the most talented. They weren't always like oh my gosh, this person is so incredible. I would see successful people and I'd be like, man, they didn't like, wow, like blow me out of the water. But I'm like, what are they doing though? They show up consistently, right? They put in the work. They work their asses off, right? They show up when they don't want to. They commit to things and they follow through with them. They make themselves proud and others proud. I mean, these are the people that they get knocked down and they get right back up.
Yep.
I've had many failures and mistakes and really tough days and long days. I mean, this week is probably like an 80-hour work week. It's insane, man. I've been working till 11, 12 at night some nights this week. And it's like, I didn't always want to do that, but now I'm in a good spot on Friday and I can enjoy a little bit of my weekend and do some work and catching up, But it's like you have to, again, you got to reflect on where you want to go and what's important to you and your goals. And then you got to think, man, it's going to take a lot of work to get there. It just doesn't happen overnight, and it's not easy to build anything.
How many oh crap moments have you had when you became an entrepreneur? Like where you're like, was this the right move? Like I was really cozy. You were like, and you were good at what you did. You were you were going to, the awards. You were just
Yeah.
you were amazing at what you did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how has that been? Like, talk to me about that. I mean, do you have those moments?
Well, so it's interesting. So when I left my company, I'd switched. So I'd hit a couple contests, and then I volunteered to switch territories to build up a new one. And it was a slow build, man. So it was like I wasn't in the cushy territory that I was in before that I had built up from scratch. But like I was in a different position, and so there was still a path to success, and I wasn't worried about not making it. But it was almost easier for me to leave because it wasn't that super cushy time when I could have just like coasted. But to be honest, man.
Dude, but isn't that what happens? Everything happens for a reason. Like,
Yeah, right.
You got put into that job.
Yes.
Your mind started wandering. Like, let me lean into this.
Yeah.
COVID happens. Fast forward.
Perfect. It's perfect. I was going through a separation with my ex. I had that new territory. COVID. Like, there were so many things where I was like, now's the time. People are like, oh man, you started a business, and amongst all this stuff going on, I'm like, that's the best time to start a business.
Yeah.
I feel like I had nothing. I was like ground level, and I was like, I had to build something. I might as well build something I'm passionate about, that I'm excited about. That's my dream. That's something that I wake up every day excited about. But to be honest, man, I really like, I do think that one thing that you need to have is, if you're trying to build anything of significance, is conviction, and belief in yourself. And it takes time to build that. Like, you have to do things, follow through with them, make yourself proud. But conviction is a lot, man. I won't say it's everything, but it is a lot. Just believing, it sounds cliche to say. So when I left, I was like almost like overly confident. I was like, I got this. And because my mindset was this: there was no plan B. It's plan A. I make this happen, or I literally die. That's what I said to myself. I was like, dude, if I'm not successful in 6-12 months, like if I'm not still doing this business, then I got hit by a car or something. Like, I'm either not on planet Earth anymore, or I'm here successful in the business. And
There's
I think
no plan B.
There's no plan B, man. And I think too many people are like, well, I could try this, but if it doesn't work out, I think I kind of want to do it. And I was like, I'm making this happen. I said it to myself, I said it to my family, I said it to the world. Yo, this is what I'm doing. And I know it's going to be hard. I'm not naive. It's not going to be easy, but I'm going to make this happen. And so I'm not for one day. And I still to this day don't believe that I would ever fail at this. Would one business maybe not work out? Would I have to pivot? Of course. Would things change? Would I fail? Of course. But I believe in myself now more than ever, because I've built this. I don't care what it is. You could take away everything today. Take away the company, the boot camp, the creative, all my content. If I start from scratch on a brand new app that no one's ever heard of, I'll still find a way to build it up. Because of my determination, the conviction, I know I care about people and I want to help people. And I'll find a way to bring creativity and innovation to I'll just figure it out. Like, I will bust my ass to figure it out. And that's the difference between people that actually make it and become successful and the people that don't, man. It's the freaking grit.
Dude, first off, I've had a few conversations with you, and I've never heard you with so much conviction. And I'm proud of you, because when we first started talking, I felt it, but like hearing it and hearing your backstory on how you got there, that's it, man. I mean, look, I talk to a lot of loan officers and a lot of people that I'm trying to help build their business. I'm trying to, help them remove the barriers that are holding them back. And sometimes I'll walk away from the conversation thinking, I might believe in this individual more than they believe in themselves.
Yep.
And that can't be the case. You have to believe in it, And so, it's really good to network and to talk to people who want to inspire you, because I think that having people around you that believe in you is really key. But you got to take that energy and you got to turn that into conviction, where you're willing to not fail. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We're going to get this done. And, like you said, or I'm going to die.
Yes.
If you're willing to taste it in that sense, then boom.
Because some people are like, oh, no one believes in me and they don't see my vision. And I'm like, well, no shit. Like, no one should believe in you. Like, no one believed in me when I was starting this business from basically scratch. I didn't come from marketing. I didn't have a marketing degree. I wasn't like, I wasn't already doing the job. And so people thought I was crazy. My parents were like, what the hell are you doing? You got a great job and 6 figures, good benefits. Why are you going to leave something like that? They just could not, for the life of them, wrap their heads around what I was doing. But I saw it. I saw the vision and I lived it every day, and I put in the work to actually make it happen. And so I think, man, that conviction, that self-belief is huge. It doesn't mean you won't. I separate doubt with self-doubt, because I think you doubt some of the things that you do.
You
Right.
do.
There's been plenty of times when I'm like, man, am I doing the right thing here? Like, is this the right product, service, like customer? Like, I don't know. Should I pivot here? Of course you have those doubts, but I never doubted myself to say, hey, whatever happens though, I'm going to find a way to figure it out.
Well, you've helped so many people. I mean, you've literally changed lives. And that was really what you were going after, is figuring out a way to touch people in a way that's going to help them, remove those barriers so that they can go out there and fulfill their dreams through this ability to build their brand, through building content and really helping them do that in an untapped market. And
yes.
So go ahead.
It's easier now to have confidence because I've done it so many times, and myself and other people, and there's been so many examples and testimonials. I could just point everywhere. But in the beginning, when you don't have that, that's where the confidence is tough, man. Because you're like, okay, I've done it, but can I help somebody else do it? Is this really? Do I really have a good system here? Do I really have a good process? A good product service? And so, yeah, you just have to, when you get your first client, your second client, your third client, you got to put everything you got into those folks and make sure that they get the results, that they grow, that whatever you're trying to help them do, that it happens, because that's how you start building the momentum, building the confidence, and then it just starts snowballing. And but there'll be, I take on new projects and new types of customers, and then my confidence is lower again. It's time to build it up. And so there's, I always want to challenge myself. There's always going to be another thing that you got to start, another barrier you got to break down. But certainly when you start building these confidence, the confident sort of foundation that I think we all need, and you get really good here with just, hey, like, I'm in the zone right now. I'm not going to let external things affect how I feel and my happiness and my confidence level. And you just put in the work. It does get easier for sure.
When did you realize that being an entrepreneur, starting your own business was actually a thing, like that you were really going to do? When did that into your mindset? Has it always been a part of you? Have you, did you grow up, thinking like, I'm going to own my own business at some point, or was it because, and the reason I asked a question is because I remember actually making a very a very definitive decision in my head that I'm okay not being an entrepreneur. I'm okay being a corporate guy, and then through that came a different type of market, a different type. And then that's when I started kind of dabbling into different investments and, jumping into owning stuff and creating businesses. But that took a long time. When did it hit you to decide that's the route I'm going to go?
So it's funny, man, because it was like phases, right? There's certain parts of my life when I was 14 and I was like writing raps in math class. I was like, I'm going to freaking be a rapper. I'm going to be like, people are going to know my name. Like, I thought I was going to do something special. And then later on in life, like when I was in going to a community college, it was my first ever speech class. And I got up on stage. There's like 15 people there. It was nothing crazy, right? But I gave this speech and it just felt very natural, like talking to people. And I was like, I left there and I'll never forget this. I got in my car, I turned on the radio, and I remember the song that was playing and everything like it was yesterday. I'm driving down the highway and I'm going back to my apartment at the time in college. And I remember thinking, dude, you're going to speak to the world one day. Like, you're going to speak to millions of people. I literally had that thought, man. I get the chills just thinking about it. But like, I was like, you are going to impact the world, man. You're going to, and I didn't know how. I had no clue how I was going to do it, what the plan was. And I think that's a big lesson, is you don't need to have everything figured out. If you have a desire to do it, then just start going. You'll get clarity through action. Most people think that you need clarity first, and then you have to start taking massive action. Take massive action and figure out the clarity on the way. Like, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And so I had those moments, but then, you know what, to be honest, then it was like, all right, I'm going to be the CEO of a company, and that's how I'm going to make the impact. And then I spent 6 years at my last company in corporate America. And I just realized, I remember thinking, even if I got to be the CEO of this company, I still wouldn't be happy. I still would have felt like I had this potential. I could have impacted more people. I could have done more with this one life I got. And so I decided, and there was like little phases even within that 6 years where I'd write a little book to myself, then I'd develop some videos, and I'd stop for a while, and then I'd get back in the job. And then finally 2019 was the year where I was like, it's time to go, man. You've had this desire your whole freaking life, and you haven't really gave it a legitimate shot, and the time is now. And I went all in, and I never looked back.
Dude, I'm so amazed with your story, because you're so good in so many ways, like the rap stuff is just amazing. I mean, really, you are good. Like I'll listen to it and I'll try to find, like, I'm just like, he is just good. You're just really good at that. And then you go into how you're creating content that's so creative and entertaining and fun to watch. Like I hate watching anything over 30 seconds. And I
Yeah.
will watch yours to the end and I'm like, that was like a 3-minute clip. That was good. You know what I mean? Like they're fun to watch, and the editing and everything is just amazing. So you have it, and to be able to train somebody to do this and to take a piece of that and create the way you are is amazing. So let's talk about that for a second. So how do you help somebody? Like, what does it look like? How do people find you? How do they connect with you, and how can you help them jump in digitally?
Yeah, so I work with people and companies in two different ways. And one is sort of I teach you everything that you need to do. I give you the skills that you need to go build the personal brand, to create the kind of content on LinkedIn and other platforms that are going to bring awareness and customers to you. I teach you how to the social selling aspect of how to engage, send DMs, really build that community. So there's the boot camp for that, right? The LinkedIn video social selling boot camp is what I call it. And then there's the I do it for you method or program, or really a partnership where I come in and I develop the content for you. So I come up with the scripts, and there's something really interesting that I'll explain after this too. But I come in and I do a lot of the content strategy. Me and my team produce and edit the videos. We write the copy. So it's for somebody that's like, hey, I'd rather pay somebody, a certain amount every month and have them just do all this stuff. So I can just run my business, but I'm still showing up on social media, and they still have to do certain things. They still have to engage and participate. It's not like they're completely hands off, but a lot of the legwork that most people don't want to do is done by us. And we've got creativity behind it. So it's going to stand out amongst everyone else. No doubt about it.
So you can take somebody like me and you could say, let me understand what you do.
Yeah.
Let me understand your kind of messaging. Let me understand your brand. We're going to spit out this content. Here's the script.
Yep.
Go film it. Send it back. We'll take care of the rest.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And here's one of the cool things that I always struggled with, where I was like, how do I sort of monetize or use this creativity beyond my own content, right? Mm-hmm. And what's funny is recently people are hiring me now to do 4 scripts for them, and they're paying for it. Or they're hiring me to say, can you do 1 video a week for me? I want one really creative, like stand out, like amazing video. Oh. Some people are like, hey, I want 3 or 4 or 5, and I want to meet with you every week to go over strategy and that kind of stuff. So I'm excited because I'm just now tapping into like unleashing the creative here and really offering it to other people as a way to stand out. Because that's something that you can't necessarily. I can unpack some things for you, and I can show you how to think creatively and how you should title and that kind of stuff. There's certain fundamental things I can teach you, but I can't give you creativity, right? So it's like you can't tell somebody like, go be creative. Like you can teach them ways and get out of their comfort zone and show them different ways that you could be creative. But coming up with the scripts and the different things that look, even like you said, the interview video, it looked different than you've ever seen before. Of course it did, intentionally, right? Because I don't want my shit to look like everyone else, right?
Oh, I know. Pissed me off. Yeah, it's I like immediately went to my video editor and I was like, do you see what they're doing? Like they just beat us. They just beat us. Like they came up with something more creative. Yeah, that's so good.
But even my team, they know, I tell them, unleash the creative, try new stuff. I want you to explore, test, like play with it, do different formats. And so a lot of the stuff is like not even me always coming up with when it comes to like the interview style videos, it's not always me even coming up with the ideas. I just encourage it. It's built into the culture, which again, going back to the brand, if you really have a brand, it's internal, it's external. It shows up in your employees, your customers, your team, yourself, your message. The brand really shows up everywhere if it's truly something that you're living and not just a tagline.
Love it. I love it. Well, I got to tell you, everything that you're doing, from the being able to take somebody and help them through this process is huge, because that's the hardest step, right? Is getting somebody to coach you through this process. And if you can afford it and you think your business is important enough to you to create this, then this is your man. Now, having said that, tell me what you can't delegate in this process.
What I can't delegate?
No, what the end user. So if I'm trying to build my brand in a community, what are the things that I can't delegate? What are the things that I got to do the hard work on?
Well, you do have to, when it comes to video content, and people can write text posts for you and picture posts and that kind of stuff. But when it comes to video, you got to show up, right? So you have to actually, whether I script it out or whether you learn how to do it, or whether it's a call like this or a live like this, you have to show up. And then the second element is if you really want to do it the right way and you want to find the most success possible, you've really got to build a community. There's no faking it, right? You can't just hire a bunch of robots to comment on your stuff and DM and spam people. Yeah. I mean, you could, but like people aren't going to react very well to it because you're not really building relationships. So, you know, it's the difference of just spending 15, 20 minutes a day, you know, or more, but if that's all you got, engaging with people on the platform. Some of them are going to be your potential customers. Some of them are going to be your champions, people that you build relationships that maybe are in your industry that you help each other out. And so some of them are potential partnerships, hires that you may make. So you can't fake the community build. You have to actually give a shit about people. You have to care about people, and you do have to build a community to a certain extent. You got to bring value. You got to show up. It's just a question of, do you want to do, you know, if there's this much to do, you know, I can help somebody where you just got to do this much, but you still appear like this, right?
The comments, you can't delegate like a Clubhouse. You can't delegate entering a conversation on LinkedIn and commenting because at the end of the day, that's got to be you. It's got to come from your heart. It has to, you know, something that resonates with you may not resonate with the person you're delegating it to. So you have to show up in that sense and give your true heart out there and be kind and you know, spread love, you know, be out there, encourage people and lift them up when they're down. And, you know, I think that's really where people get to know you. People get to know you in the comments. 100%. And that's where the conversation starts.
Even the way you comment on your own post and respond to people, you know, I've always been the type where I'm like, I put the people who comment on my stuff and support me, they are on the pedestal, not me. Right. Yeah. Like me and my content are not here and everyone else is like commenting. The comments and the support is up here. My content's here because without them and my customers and clients, I have nothing. So you have to like bow down to the people that help and support you. And it's crazy when I see the opposite, which is some people get a little bit of traction on LinkedIn. They're like, oh, I got a couple hundred reactions and comments now. And now they think they're like, oh, thanks, Fred, for commenting. Yeah, appreciate it. You know, and they're getting all smug about it. And I'm like, don't forget why you're even here in the first place. Yes. Don't forget why you're in this news feed in the first place is because of the people who support and show you love. Like, let's be clear about that.
Yes. I love what Chris just said. If you take a look at it, he's like, it takes work to demonstrate you. And by the way, social media and building your brand is work. It's not easy. It's gonna take a lot of effort. So love your comment, Chris, and thanks for engaging. I gotta tell you real quickly a quick story before you wrap up about Clubhouse because this really paid off and it'll make sense in a second. But so I'm in a Clubhouse and I go into it's a LinkedIn Clubhouse. So I'm meeting all these like big time LinkedIn people that I have never met. And so they're talking about it. And one of the guys, I want to say his name is Andy Foote. Do you know who he is?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's really big on LinkedIn.
Yep.
This is the first time I've heard the guy, and he doesn't have LinkedIn Live, and he's pissed about it. And he's telling the story about how he's seething about how they won't give it to him, right? And so skip to a next day, a couple of days later, we're in another room, and he's in that room, and he's saying how he met with the LinkedIn founder. And I was like, and so I bring it up. Did you ask him about LinkedIn Live? You know, and how it's kind of arbitrary how they pick you and don't pick you. And so another person hits me up and they say, hey, I can help you with LinkedIn Live if you don't have it yet, Chris. And I'm like, sure you can. I've applied like 6 times, haven't gotten it. And they're like, no, I got you. DM me and I'll help you.
Really?
I went on today and we are live on LinkedIn right now, dude. Like, I didn't know we were going to. I had no idea that we were going to be on LinkedIn Live. But
I didn't know. I had it for a while. Wow.
No, I've never had it, dude. So like that is the payoff right there for networking in Clubhouse is that somebody was able to pull some strings to get me, or it just all happened very coincidentally, but we are on LinkedIn Live. So this is awesome. So this is where networking truly pays off because the amount of eyes that are going to see this, you and I talking just live, not even on the stuff that we cut out is going to be amazing. So dude, I can't thank you enough for taking time and hanging out with me today. I've learned so much from you, and it's been a fun journey for me, just hanging out with you guys and getting feedback on my stuff and, you know, everything that you're doing to change people's lives. So I do appreciate everything you're doing, Alex, and keep spreading the love and keep showing the world keep impacting the world as best as you can, man. I appreciate everything you're doing. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, bro. Have a great day, man. I'll talk to you soon.
You too, brother.
Bye-bye.